Thank you to everyone who's here. It's nice to see you. We appreciate you joining us for the first episode of this season's The Next Step. Our next guest on The Next Step is Obianeze Okolo, a Hammond Scholar who graduated in 2019 and is now a first-year student at the Keck School of Medicine of the University of Southern California. Obi's always had an interest in emergency medicine, although he's still exploring his options. Following a life-changing shadowing and volunteering experience in Nigeria, he ultimately wants to reform the healthcare system in his beloved home country. Obi, it's wonderful to have you back. I'm so happy to feature you in any way for our students. I know you've got a lot of great insights and experiences to share with them, so welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
This is one of my favorite parts. You know, it's the end of the day for us. I know you're on the West Coast now, so you're in the middle of your day, but I'm at the end of my work day and I'm coming off, I think, 5 or 6 student meetings in a row. So I'm a little tired, but I do get excited to have these conversations with students I haven't seen in a few years. So it is exciting for me. Let's start off by sharing a bit of your background. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how you grew up and how you decided to attend the University of Miami.
Yeah, so I grew up in New York. I grew up in Yonkers, New York, and in the Bronx, New York, like kind of like half and half. I went to a bunch of different schools. I had to go to a bunch of different schools because I was kind of like, I guess, a misbehaving child, they would say. So I actually had to move to a lot of different schools because like it was the time for me to leave. So I ended up going to 4 schools throughout like my pre-college career. And then my last school was actually where like they kind of set me straight. It was like a Catholic school, all boys Catholic school. So I was like, all right, I have to do this so I can get to college. And so they really did set me straight, and they kind of just put me on the path to I would say just realize what's important for me to like accomplish the goals in my life. And then they helped me apply to a bunch of different colleges, University of Miami being one of them. And I think the experiences at that particular school really helped me to be competitive and be accepted into Miami and to get a Hammond Scholarship, which was one of the main reasons what kind of drew me to UM. But in addition to that, it was like I love like Hispanic culture, I love Caribbean culture, I love tropical weather, I love just like being outdoors. And so I think all of those things drew me to go to the University of Miami.
I know I didn't advise you directly when you were here. I know Jeanette was your OAE advisor, but Obi, never in a million years would I have guessed that you were sort of an out of control kid. No way. I still don't believe it. I think you might be leading it. Tell us a little bit about what you studied at UM and how did you decide on that major?
So I studied biochemistry. That was my main major. And I basically chose it because I liked biology and chemistry in high school. And I didn't really know what biochemistry entailed, but I thought that it would like combine both biology and chemistry since I like them both. So I kind of chose that major, and it worked out, I would say, because with that major, it contained all the pre-med requirements that I needed to apply to medical school. Like I inadvertently set myself like on the right path, I would say. And then beyond that, I like wanted to get a Spanish minor, which I had started doing, but then like Spanish at UM is like really intense. So I ended up dropping that minor, but then I took up a classics minor. So I studied Latin and Greek mythology and one other class. I need like 5 classes for the minor. So, and that was just like a separate, like an interest I kind of always had as well.
Was biochemistry your major when you entered the university?
Yeah, I started and finished with biochemistry.
Did you ever have any doubts along the way that was the right major for you?
Yeah, a lot actually. I was definitely like, even like with the major, like with pre-med in general, it was just, I remember sophomore year was like particularly tough in terms of like, especially like organic chemistry. A lot of people, that's like the class that like makes or breaks, I guess, pre-meds. And I didn't even do well. I wouldn't say I did well in the class. Like I remember failing 2 exams and thinking like, oh, I probably can't be a doctor. I probably shouldn't continue with this. So the doubts were definitely there, but I had a great support system that kind of pushed me to persevere.
We know you were very involved on campus. And if you think of your college experience on the whole, in the classroom, outside the classroom, just on the whole, what was the most transformative experience that you had in college?
I think most people at kind of knew me for my role in like the African Students Union. That was a big part of my involvement at It really, and I think I'd say it's like the most transformative experience for me because it pushed me like in a direction I never thought I would go in terms of like professionalism, uh, what's the word? Event planning, all these different things that no one really kind of goes to college to do, I would say. For the most part, it was like, it just brought me out of my comfort zone completely. And I think I was so into it because I'm so into my like African culture. So I would say that really, it just changed so much for me. It like helped me become a better person. It helped me develop like time management skills, interpersonal skills. Um, I think it showed me that I'm like more multifaceted than I thought I was initially.
Was medical school always your plan? When did you know that you wanted to be a doctor?
It actually wasn't. I actually have and still like want to be a chef. Like that's not my main goal. Like my main goal now is to be a doctor. But before college, I really, really wanted to be a chef. Like I watched Food Network all the time. I cooked Thanksgiving meals for my family. I did and I still do all those things as well. But it wasn't really, I guess in my family, it wasn't really encouraged, just like because it's more of a risky, I guess, career path, which is understandable. So, but I had always had the love of like science and service in the back of my mind. So I entered high school with the idea, I did want to be a chef, but then like with the idea also, I really like science. So that was something I explored. And then I think in my senior year of high school, like being a doctor seemed like an option. And that's when I started to get more into it. But then after my freshman year in college, I went to Nigeria for my shadowing experience, which was literally life changing. Like I went with my father. I flew alone, and I met my father there. He like worked in the hospital as well, so his connection allowed me to shadow in this really rural hospital in like eastern Nigeria, limited supplies, limited everything. And I lived like on the grounds in the hospital. So I was like really immersed with the doctors as well. The doctors lived on the grounds, the nurses, some of them lived on the grounds, the lab technicians lived there. And we all were kind of this small community of healers that were just like really working really hard for like such a vulnerable group of people. And I saw that even though it was such a struggle for them, it seemed very rewarding for them. And I felt like if they could find such happiness in such struggle, then I feel like that's something that's really rewarding and something I want to explore as well. So after that, that's when I decided that I like being a doctor, something I really want to do just because it's very rewarding and I get to help people and I get to explore my love for science. And I know it's like a generic answer that a lot of pre-meds say, but it is true for me. Like I do love science and I love helping people. So that kind of got me on that path.
That's great. I love science and service. That's a nice sort of slogan for you. It has a good ring to it. And also, you remind me, Obi, I think I ran into you once. You were leaving the wellness center with trays and trays of food because one of the ASU events that you had organized is a dinner, right? Isn't that the fall?
Yeah, the Taste of Africa. That was because we wanted to show like food from a lot of different regions in Africa, and like the restaurants in Miami aren't as diverse. Like they don't represent all of the different countries, so we had to cook a lot of the dishes ourselves, which was very, very interesting.
Well, you got to flex your chef muscles for those
Yeah.
events. That's cool. So I know you also took a gap year, and that's a topic that I know Shayla and I and the other Hammond advisors often talk to pre-med students about is whether they should or shouldn't take a gap year and what to do at that time if they do take a gap year. So how did you decide to take one? And then what did you do during that time?
It wasn't in my initial plan as well. I actually initially planned to go straight through, but I would say like fortunately, but unfortunately, like, I didn't take my MCAT in time and I didn't get recommendation letters in time. So it wasn't like it was initially my plan to take a gap year, but it just so happened to work out. And my gap year was the best year of my life. Like I enjoyed what I did completely. Like I want to do it again. I still want to do it again. But I was struggling like in my senior year. I remember working in OAE in the office and like I don't know if you guys know Indeed, but Indeed is like a really good website to like find certain jobs. And I was applying to a lot of research jobs and they weren't like, it wasn't working out. No one was really accepting me. and all those things. But I saw one position for like a kindergarten associate teacher, and it was in the Bronx in New York where I grew up. So I was like, okay, this could be interesting. This is like I do like help. I like children. I like mentorship, and especially like in the area that I'm comfortable with and familiar with, it seemed like something that I would really enjoy. And so that was the only place that kind of offered me like a position, and they or offered me like an interview. And then I went and interviewed. They had to like give a teaching demo, and I was awful. I don't know why they chose me, but I was like really bad. But then they ended up choosing me to work there. And then with the school is like really, they have like coaches and mentors who like teach you how to teach. And it was like an overall positive experience. So it was a really random experience, but it was very culminating in that it was an area that I grew up in, that I was able to then teach children who are now growing up in that area. And I encourage them to like accomplish their dreams, and they can do whatever they want. Like a lot of them want to be doctors, a lot of them want to be superheroes, a lot of them want to be everything, but like just to pour that love into them and that encouragement into them was really rewarding for me. So that's kind of what I did in my gap year.
Great. I'm going to kind of skip over the med school application process, and I'm going to instead take a moment to invite our guests to submit their questions using the Q&A at the bottom of the screen, particularly if you have questions about the med school application process. This might be a good prompt to ask those questions. And for you and I, Obi, let's skip ahead to med school. How has the transition been?
It's so like honestly speaking, like it was initially a little rough, just because I think I went in with a high amount of confidence, and they like shot me down really quickly. Like my first exam was very, very interesting. I remember like the second week studying with my peers, and just the way that they were able to regurgitate information, and I was still like lost on the imposter syndrome really kicked in really early for me, because I felt like I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there, because the way my peers could like explain topics that they were learning about, or just answer questions like on their feet, it was really discouraging for me. And I remember like talking to my sister, talking to my friends, saying like, I don't feel like I don't know how I made it here. These people are so smart. I don't think I'd like, just like the way imposter syndrome manifests. And I think that was when I kind of took a moment and I stepped back and just like saw where I was. And my friend actually gave me really good advice. I was talking to her about this once. She told me that if I knew everything, and it was like, it's such a simple thing that I didn't think about, but she said, if I knew everything, then I wouldn't need to go to medical school. I was like, that makes complete sense. Like, I'm not supposed to know everything right now. Like, they're supposed to teach me and I'm supposed to take it in. And so after she told me that, I was like, all of that kind of went out the window. Like, people are there, people study their own way. But when I was there, I guess I'm here now to learn, not to like show how much I know, because I don't know anything. I'm in medical school to become a doctor, not to prove that I'm a doctor already. So with that mindset, it's been a lot better now. Like I take in it's like I made learning more fun for me, I guess. And I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but the transition early definitely was like, I felt like I shouldn't be there. And now I feel like I'm really comfortable where I am. I've like developed my study habits. I've developed wellness routines. I've developed a bunch of other things that kind of made me comfortable where I am now. So it was a rough transition at first, but I'm in a good place right now, I would say.
Thanks for sharing that. I think it's important for students to hear, and even folks like me to hear, that this is an experience we often have where we feel it's like, did we make the right choice? Are we in the right place? Did you ever have any feelings like that when you first started at UM?
I think definitely when I was in my like science courses, because there wasn't many people who looked like me, especially as you go up in the 200, 300, 400 levels of classes. Like, there's very few people who are like underrepresented minorities in those classes. And I remember feeling kind of out of place a lot of the time, like in those classes, unfortunately. But outside of the classroom, I definitely felt like very welcomed and very, very cared for and very included. But like in the classroom was a different story.
And so what are some things about medical school that have been surprising for you? What are some things that you've experienced and you didn't expect, aside from, the imposter syndrome? What else has sort of caught you off guard or you weren't expecting?
One thing I didn't personally expect was like how how immersed we are in like medicine early on. Like I was telling Jeanette earlier that we actually get to interview patients like starting this first week of school. We get to write patient write-ups. We get to like I kind of feel like a mini doctor, I would say. Just like the things I get to talk about and like the conversations I have with actual physicians in terms of different diagnoses or different pathologies, like different diseases and all of those things. I didn't know that I would feel so advanced, I guess, in like my intended career that so much it's like really early on. I thought that only happened after I took my board exams. So to be able to have those conversations now and kind of feel like I'm really close to my professional goal was really surprising to me.
You know, it sounds like you've got a lot of plans and interests in terms of how to spend your time down the road. So I'm interested in your response to this question. What is on the horizon for you? What's the next step for you after you finish medical school?
Yeah, so actually I was talking to my parents about this a few days ago. I was thinking of actually getting a business MBA like in the middle of medical school, like in between my third and fourth year. Just I feel like it would help me with my like intended goal of working in Nigeria to kind of help the system over there. So I feel like having that under my belt would be really helpful. I also am like working on like an Instagram page / YouTube channel. I do want to because I want to just encourage as many people to pursue medicine as possible, especially people who like underrepresented minorities who aren't really given the resources or the support that is necessary to kind of navigate this journey. And I feel like I have a lot of personal stories of like encouragement that I haven't really shared yet, but that I do intend to share just to serve as encouragement for people who are going down this career path, because it's not easy to go through alone, and I don't want people to feel like they're going through it alone. Like I want to be there for people to go through this journey. So that's one of my like a huge goal of mine is just like having that, I guess, platform to encourage people. And then yeah, I do have a few plans. Another one is to like learn Igbo, like my parents' language. I'm like in the middle of learning it now. It's really complicated and difficult, but I do want to learn it just so I can again go to Nigeria and be helpful. Or they speak English there, but not everybody speaks English. So just to be as helpful as possible with and also just to be more connected with my family, my culture. And definitely, and then my last goal after like retiring from medicine, I do want to go back around and like become a chef. So that's something I do intend to do, just like open some type of restaurant with some people and like develop recipes and all of those things. So those are just some things that I've been thinking about.
Cool. Hopefully you'll come back to Miami and help us further diversify our restaurant offerings down here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned that you have an Instagram that you're starting and a YouTube page. Did you want to share those now?
The Instagram page is at OBI the MD. So just like OB the MD and then OBITHE MD. And the YouTube channel is not, I don't have one yet, but when I do, I'll post it on the Instagram page and then.
Okay, cool. It's under construction still.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, I'd like to invite our audience to submit their questions at the bottom of the screen using the Q&A. Before we shift over to audience questions, Obi, let's do some quick hits. We'll get to know you a little bit better, and you can share some of your interests and favorites and things like that. So, Obi, what's your favorite movie?
So my favorite movie is actually like I'm very like into my Nigerian culture, so you guys might not have heard of this movie, but it's called The Wedding Party. It's on Netflix actually. It's just about like this not traditional Nigerian wedding, but like a Nigerian wedding between one person from one tribe, one person from another tribe. The families don't mix, so it's hilarious. It's a really funny movie, but I would say that's my favorite movie, and it just reminds me of like being in Nigerian parties and like, oh yeah, shit, that's great. I love that movie so much. Just like being in like the environment and dancing with people and like having fun. And just I love that. I love that movie so much. So The Wedding Party, yeah.
Awesome. I jotted it down. You'll help my wife and I one of those nights where we know we want to watch something, but we can't figure out what it is. What's your favorite cuisine?
Nigerian food. Nigerian food, yeah. Especially like there's like a bunch of soups that are like really like such like strong, rich flavors that like okra soup, egusi soup, ogbono soup, like a lot of soups that are like they're heavy, they make you really full. They taste delicious, and they're like always again just like it's a nostalgia thing for me. So
Awesome. I kind of anticipated the answer to that question, but I thought I should ask it anyway. I also anticipate the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Your favorite trip that you've taken?
it's in Africa, but not to Nigeria. It's actually to I went to Kenya the summer before the summer after I graduated, like a few weeks after that, a few months after that, I went to Kenya with some family and friends. It was like a graduation gift from my aunt, and I was blown away. It's just like an amazing, fun country. Like Nigeria is also like a fun place, but I didn't really get to have as much fun as I have than when I went to Kenya. So I was at Kenya.
What is the best decade for music and why?
Best decade for music is the 90s because the 90s, I don't know, they knew what they were talking about. The beats were like amazing. The story, I like songs with stories in them and that like give life lessons and that like display emotion a lot. So I would say like 90s hip hop and 90s R&B is like I play those all the time.
And where does Nigerian music land in your like favorites of music?
It's definitely like it's like 90s and then like Nigerian music is like right here. They're like this close.
Okay. Now, my knowledge of Nigerian music is not as good as my knowledge of 90s hip hop, but I will say Fela Kuti is someone that
Yeah.
we play often in our house, and my son loves the song Zombie. So we play a lot. We
That's
do.
a good song, yeah.
It is. So we'll switch it up a little bit, be a little more serious. What are you most proud of?
So when I read this question, I guess I can answer anyway, but I was wondering like, is it more about like myself or like just what's out there? Like what?
I think about your life, maybe your accomplishments or experiences. About you.
I think what I'm most proud of really is like my teaching experience again, it was like really life changing for me just because I was able to, I think, make a big impact on 19 6 and 5 year olds and really encourage them and just like pour love and like support into them. And I worked at a charter school, and charter schools they're like intense because it's a lot about like their grades and about like tests on scores on tests and everything. And I didn't like initially I didn't like the work environment, so I was really like heavily stressed and uncomfortable. And I thought about quitting like multiple times early on, but something just kept telling me to keep pushing and keep going. And I don't know, just like to like push through that and to persevere is really something I'm really proud of because I felt like I didn't let my kids down, I didn't let their families down, and I was able to really to make the difference that I really intended to make. So that's something I think about that all the time. And then like just teaching them how to read, which is crazy. Like teaching 5-year-olds how to like the alphabet and like how to read. I've never thought about having to do that, and to have accomplished that was also just like, I think it's just like impossibilities that are no longer impossibilities to me. I think it just shows me that like I and like everyone else is capable of a lot of things if you just kind of push through and like realize what you're doing them for.
And so conversely, is there anything that you would do differently if you had the chance?
Yeah, so definitely I wish like I was, and I don't want to like make this like a depressing like question answer or whatever, but I wish I was kinder to myself, I guess, in undergrad especially. I feel like a lot of people who knew me knew like I was definitely like overworked and stressed, and I just did a lot, and I didn't really allow myself time to rest or allow myself time to just work on my wellness. I never really worked on my wellness a lot in undergrad, which was detrimental to me, I would say. So I wish that earlier on I was more proactive about maintaining my wellness first and processing emotions rather than kind of being reactive and being just not processing emotions healthily. I didn't do that a lot. I didn't do that at all, and it definitely had lasting effects that I'm still kind of working to overcome. But I've made a lot of progress now, and I've done the research, and I've done like read a lot of books and worked on meditation and deep breathing and all of those things. So I wish I had done that earlier on, just like being more proactive about my mental and physical, mostly my mental wellness, because that's what I encourage a lot of like everyone to do. It's just like work on your mental health, because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. I would say like mental health is wealth and is the most important.
Obi, that's really great for you to share. Being honest with you, we work with a lot of high achieving students who put so much pressure on themselves to do more, more, and more. And they think that's the only way that they'll accomplish what they want to accomplish. So, but how do you feel about that? Because you did pay that price and now you are reaping the rewards. You're doing what you want to do. So in some ways, it kind of reinforces the idea that you've got to do so much in order to make it. So how do you find that balance? How do you be kinder to yourself, take better care of yourself, find more balance in your day to day as an undergrad while also trying to have big accomplishments?
So one thing I do now, because I'm like really busy now in medical school, but one thing I do now is that I didn't do in undergrad. Like in undergrad, I would study until 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Like I had to get the information in. Whereas now, like in medical school, at a certain time, if I don't have the information, like I don't care, I'm going to bed. Like there's time. I feel like there's more time than people think that they have, and it's more about being smart with your time than like kind of cramming things in at once. Like there's time to do a lot of things if you like slow down and if you think about, if you just plan your stuff out better. I think there's a way to incorporate a lot of things that will kind of help your mental and physical wellness. So I would say I don't. It's really difficult because there are times as well. How do I say this? Because I'm like a person who likes to challenge myself as well. So there's like a balance that you have to find between challenging yourself and just maintaining your wellness. And that's something I struggle with like every day still. But at the end of the day, I always choose what will make me feel like emotionally, physically well, rather than what will kind of make me look good to other people, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So I think if at any point you come to a time where you have to decide, like if you have to choose between yourself or your peace and something else, like your peace is always more important. That's something I stand by, and like I try to strive to achieve every day, because I don't achieve it every day, but at least I try to.
My last question for you, Obi, before we open it up for some questions from the group is, what does it mean to you to be a Hammond Scholar?
Well, I'm always like every day I'm like grateful for having been chosen to receive the scholarship. Like it was life changing for me, honestly speaking. I don't think I would have gone to this such an amazing school if I didn't have a scholarship. I wouldn't have had the amazing experiences or met the amazing people or just like had such a fulfilling college experience if not for the scholarship. And then with the scholarship, I remember seeing Hammond scholars who were years above me, and they always just did amazing, great things. I was like, wow, I want to do that as well. I just want to be. I'm glad that I'm part of this cohort, and I feel like the Office of Academic Enhancement saw something in me that they also saw in those people who achieved such great things. And I felt like I always look to those people to like bring out I don't even know the word, but just bring out that drive in me to kind of achieve the same thing. So I think it's a cohort of people who do amazing things, and I think the potential is seen in us by the Office of Academic Enhancement, and then through the support and the nurturing and the encouragement, we're able to kind of reap or kind of accomplish the things that we always were able to. But like I think being a Hammond Scholar, I guess, helps us see that even more, because you guys saw that in us, accepted us, and all of those things. So I don't know if that question kind of makes sense, but definitely just like a group of amazing people, I would say.
It does. I would just say that we were happy that you chose to come to the university. We loved having you. So I think the feeling's mutual.
Thank you.
So I should say we have Jeanette Remy on the line here, helping us out in the background. And we also have my colleague and friend, Shayla King, who's going to come on and introduce us to some students who have questions. Shayla.
Right. Our first student is Ashley Cleveland. Ashley, if you could come on, turn on your camera and go ahead and introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hello. So unfortunately, I cannot turn on my camera today. But can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, you can. Hi, Obi. Long time no see.
I know. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I hope you're doing well as well.
I'm good. Thank you.
So my question was, what would you say is like the biggest thing on medical school applications. And then I was also wondering because medical schools are always saying, oh, we look at the person as a whole and like we're looking at your holistic career, not necessarily your GPA. Like, I guess basically, like, do you think that's true? Like, and like to what extent?
um, I think the biggest thing, and again, this is just I guess my opinion, not something that is fact, but for medical school applications, definitely having experiences that kind of speak to you as I guess that kind of showcase your personality and showcase what you're passionate about. And like passionate is a word that they don't like to hear. So don't forget I said that word, but like put that word in your head, like something that you love doing and that like drives you and fuels you. So none of my experiences with that I put on my med school application like had to do with science. Like they're always about the ASU or like mentorship or leadership or homecoming. Like there were just things that I loved doing. And I think that's something that's really important. Just like speaking about what really I guess just like fills your spirit and like drives you every day. But also yeah, I think like definitely I think it's just like the experiences that you have in undergrad that push you to that just like push you every day, that wake you up, that make you feel fulfilled. And I think most other things tend to fall in place. I hope that answers your question.
It did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are open for more questions, but before taking any more, I actually have a question, Obi, if you don't mind. So we have several students in here, some that are nursing, some that are pre-med, or that are general, just public health. From your opinion, what is, I guess, the biggest thing that you've learned about the field in general, about the healthcare field?
I think the biggest thing, something I've always known, but has been made more apparent to me, is that it's a really broken system, and it's something that we really need to collectively work together to kind of to definitely fix and to make more accessible to everybody in this country and like even in the world. Um, and it's like a really, I guess, difficult thing to accomplish, but that's one thing that I've unfortunately learned about the field, is just that it's broken, and but like it's broken, but so many beautiful things do happen every day. And I think that's what brings people to keep on doing what they do and go into work, even though it's difficult to see a lot of the things that do go on. But yeah, I've been doing research on like insurance and how that works, and that's why I kind of want to get the MBA as well, to kind of see how money is incorporated into this whole system, because I do want to work to fix it. But yeah, that's one of the main things, unfortunately, that's been like made clear to me.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't think about that. And I have one last follow-up question, sorry. Specialization, have you thought about it at all? Is it too early? What are your thoughts and ideas on it?
Something that's always been in the back of my mind was emergency medicine, but the way like my life pans out is like I always have a plan, and it doesn't go to that plan. That like happens with college. The college I went to, the med school I went to, was just like what I initially thought was gonna happen did not happen. So, and not because not because it wasn't presented to me. Like the opportunities were always presented to me, but I just like in the moment I found something that was better for me. So right now it's emergency medicine. One thing I say, like I definitely don't want to do surgery for whatever reason. I just don't like. I think the residency lifestyle is not for me or something. But who knows? I probably might end up in surgery the way things happen. So
Thank you so much.
yeah, of course. Thank you.
Hey, Obi, I have a quick question for you about the process, because, sort of one of the elephants in the room for all pre-med students is the big bad MCAT. So talk a little bit about what you did to prepare for the MCAT and your experience overall.
Mm-hmm. So I'm actually like extremely still to this day grateful for Jeanette for having let me know about the MCAT prep program at the Miller School of Medicine. It's I think without that program, I probably would not have done as well in the MCAT. They provide you like a free captain course. They provide you with a lot of mentorship, and what else did we do? We did like rotations every Friday, like through the hospital, so we got to see different specialties that we might have been interested in. And Yeah, that's how I prepared. It was the summer after my junior year. We had the course. It was like a 8 week or some odd week course, and then I think my plan was to just kind of study it all at once, do it like studying that summer, and then take the MCAT in August. So that's how I went about it. Other people do it differently, but a lot of people do it during the summer at least, just so there's time to focus on studying that and just like developing study strategies. I would say like when you do take the MCAT, I think the best study strategy is to like do practice questions. Definitely like learning, trying to read the content over and over again. It's not gonna stick as much as unless you like do a question and like you fail it and then you like realize that you failed it and then you'll remember why you failed it the next time. And I think it's just a better way to absorb information. That's how I study now in medical school as well. Like I do practice questions, and when I get them wrong, I won't get them wrong again because I see the mistake I made and how I was thinking and how to think differently. And if you guys have any questions about that MCAT, like feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help.
I have another question. I know that this group has questions about the MCAT because everyone has questions about the MCAT, but I think we have a shy group who are interested in listening today. I did have one other question for you though, and it was about your application strategy. How did you decide what schools to apply to?
I also didn't do this that well, so I'm happy to like share my mistakes so that people don't make my mistakes. But I applied to like 30 schools initially, and the way I decided it was just like what the city I wanted to live in. Like I want to live in a big city, so it was always like if it was in like Utah, if it was in somewhere else, I was not applying there. And then like certain schools were like different rankings. I don't think that was a bad strategy. I just didn't. I applied to too many, I would say. Like definitely think on schools that you think cities you would want to live in, and like dream school or reach school or target school and all those things. I would do that, but I would look more into specific programs before you actually submit your primary because you have to pay for them unless you have like a fee waiver. And I didn't do that. So, and I remember in May, like when the application was due, I was just sending to all these schools and I said, I'll just look at them later after I submit my secondaries and I'll look more into them later. I think it's better to do a lot of the research now about the programs that you might be interested in so that you save yourself money in the long term. So yeah, definitely like now, like look into programs, look into medical schools. If you have friends at certain schools or like connections at certain schools, I would reach out to them and kind of ask them how they feel about their program and how school's going for them now so that you have a better idea by the time you apply. So you're not wasting money like I did.
Obi, I can't thank you enough for your time. It's a pleasure catching up with you as always. Hope we'll stay in touch. And I wish you nothing but the best. I think you've got a really exciting future ahead of you. I've always thought that. You have a lot of really wonderful characteristics that are going to carry you very, very far. So please stay in touch. Keep us posted on how things are progressing. If you'd ever like to come back and do anything like this in the future, just let us know. But good luck in med school and beyond.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. And good luck with everybody applying medical school now or in the future. If you need help, let me know.
Thanks, Obi. Hey, before we let you go, can we throw up the U for old time's sake?
Yeah.
There we go. Obi, throw it up nice and big. There we go. All right, Obi. Thanks so much, bud.
Thank you.
Take good care.
You too. Bye-bye.